This is the news at 10 here on Lake Effect Radio. And as you heard there, and saw if you were on live stream just there, the Metropolitan Opera, several days ago, sung La Marseillaise, the French national anthem, in a tribute to the victims of last Friday's horrific and inherently evil terrorist attacks. I'm not even going to pretend to be neutral today. 3 teams of gunmen and suicide bombers were involved in the coordinated attacks across Paris last Friday that killed at least 129 people, French prosecutors said Saturday. President François Hollande declared a state of emergency late on Friday, ordering police and troops into the streets, announcing 3 days of official mourning as a stunned nation sought to comprehend the simultaneous assaults on restaurants, concert hall, and a national football stadium on a busy Friday evening. France 24, we have a video from France 24 for further details.
A state of emergency declared, bodies strewn on the ground, survivors covered in blood. In a space of a few hours, 3 groups of attackers gripped the French capital in fear. It all started at around 9:20 at the Stade de France, north of Paris, a France-Germany football friendly on a mild autumn weekend. The atmosphere was festive when suddenly a powerful blast rang out, then a second. The spectators heard the noise but didn't understand what had happened. The match continued. No one was aware that multiple suicide bombers had just blown themselves up outside the stadium. Nor did they know that at that same moment a mass shooting was taking place a few kilometers south. Gunmen drove by a small restaurant in the 10th arrondissement in Paris and opened fire on diners eating inside and outside. At least a dozen died.
What happened?
I don't know. There were people at the restaurant and on the pavement. Someone came and started shooting at them.
The attack lasted less than 2 minutes. The assailants drove on, killing several more passers-by in a nearby street. It was the start of a long night of terror that plunged the whole nation into shock. This footage was taken by a driver as he arrived in the area and heard fresh gunshots. It was 9:35 on Rue de Charonne. Another drive-by shooting at a restaurant was taking place, leaving behind a scene of carnage.
There was blood everywhere, people scattered on the floor like flies.
5 minutes later, a suicide bomber blew himself up on Boulevard Voltaire, wounding people. Further up the same street, a horrific tragedy was beginning to unfold behind closed doors. At 9:50, the Bataclan Theatre was full as it hosted a rock concert. Everything was normal until 3 men opened fire. Around 1,500 spectators found themselves trapped. Some managed to escape.
It sounded like 8 firecrackers going off behind me. I think many people thought it was part of the show.
We turned around and saw 2 young men with submachine guns firing on people.
By then, the news had reached the Stade de France after the match ended. Terrified spectators gathered on the pitch. Like the rest of the nation, they were worried about the people taken hostage at the Bataclan. Some of the concert-goers called for help via social networks. This tweet says, "I'm still at the Bataclan, on the first floor. I'm badly hurt. I hope police come as soon as possible. There are survivors inside. They're killing people one by one. First floor, quick." Midnight 20, SWAT teams stormed the concert hall. The raid lasted half an hour. 2 suicide bombers killed themselves and 1 was taken down by the police. Inside the concert hall was a pure horror. Around 100 people lay dead in the bloodbath and dozens wounded. In the face of such barbaric acts, the whole nation was lost for words.
And that was France 24, which is a internationally specialized news service located in France. Now continuing on with the article itself. As a cross-border Investigation gathered pace. Prosecutors said the slaughter appeared to involve a multinational team with links to the Middle East, Belgium, and possibly Germany, as well as French nationals. The so-called Islamic State group claimed the attack, saying it was in retaliation for French military actions in Syria and Iraq. Ominously, Greek officials said one and perhaps two of these assailants had passed from Greece along Turkey, alongside masses of desperate Syrian refugees fleeing violence in their homeland. The worst carnage was at least that the three gunmen systematically killed at least 89 people at a rock concert by an American band at the Bataclan concert hall before detonating explosive belts as an anti-terrorist commandos launched an assault, officials said. More than 40 people were killed in 5 other attacks in the Paris region, including a double suicide bombing outside the Stade de France Stadium, where Hollande and the German foreign minister were watching a friendly football match. By Saturday night, 99 people were still in critical condition. The bloodshed came as France, a member of the U.S.-led coalition waging airstrikes against the IS group, was already on high alert for terrorist attacks, raising questions of how such a complex conspiracy could go undetected. It was the worst such attack in Europe since Madrid bombings in 2004, in which Islamists killed 191 people. French media identified one of the 7 attackers as 29-year-old Frenchman of Algerian origin from the Paris suburbs. The suspect, who helped kill scores of people at the Bataclan, had a criminal record, was known to the authorities for possibly having been radicalized as far back as 2010. He traveled to Syria a few months between 2013, and 2014. 6 relatives of the suspect have since been detained. Paris prosecutor Francois Molin said on Saturday that the 3 attacks were coordinated. The 7 assailants involved wore identical suicide vests fitted with batteries and a detonator and were carrying a TATP charge. They also carry semi-automatic rifles. A French judicial official said Sunday that several Kalashnikov rifles had been found in a seat car with suspected links to Friday's attacks that was found by police in Montreal, a suburb 6 kilometers east of the French capital. French Prime Minister Manuel Valls vowed to, quote, destroy those behind the attacks, speaking late on Saturday, saying in an interview with French TV station TF1 that, quote, we are at war, and because we are at war, we are taking exceptional measures. We will strike this enemy to destroy him. In France and in Europe, we'll chase the authors of this act, and also in Syria and Iraq, we will win this war, he said. I hope, personally, and this is my personal opinion, I hope that includes thermonuclear weapons. I'm not saying that ironically or sarcastically. Back to the article. 24 hours after the attacks broke out, many of the victims have been identified and names started to emerge. An American, a Briton, 2 Mexicans, and 3 Chileans were among the victims. Many people continue to search for loved ones using a Twitter hashtag. I normally would not do this, but you may need this. So it's a hashtag. I'm going to spell it out phonetically. RECHERCHE Paris, which would be PARIS. If you are worried about someone in the area, that is a hashtag you can use on Twitter to ask basically people who use Twitter for help. Belgium's federal prosecutor's office said authorities made 3 arrests on Saturday linked to the attacks. Spokesman Jean-Pascal Thoreau said the arrest came after a rental vehicle Belgian plates was seen close to the Bataclan Theater on Friday night. Police organized several raids at the St. John's Molenbeek neighborhood of Brussels on Saturday. This is basically a stream of information on the attacks from the France 24 website. Syrian passport was found near one of the attackers' bodies. Prosecutor Moulin said the individual is not known to French intelligence services. Along with the FBI and other agencies, U.S. Justice Department attorneys are working with French authorities to obtain further information that may be relevant to the Paris attacks, a Justice Department official said on Saturday. Now, from earlier today, and there is a lot from today here, French officials have named Abdelhamid Al-Boud from Molenbeek, Brussels, as the alleged mastermind of the attacks in Paris on Friday night, which left at least 129 people dead. Abu Aoud, who is understood to be 27 years old, has been linked to a foiled attack in Thalys in August and a foiled attack in Villejuif churches in April. He's believed to be one of the so-called Islamic State's most active operators. A source told Reuters, quote, he appears to be brains behind several planned attacks in Europe. Molenbeek is home to other members of the militant Islamist cell that carried out the attack in Paris. In February this year, the IS online magazine Dabiq carried an interview with an Islamist named with this man's name, who boasts of having traveled through Europe unnoticed by security forces to organize attacks and procure weapons. He was also named in various media last year as the elder brother of a 13-year-old boy who left Belgium to become a child fighter in Syria. Meanwhile, French Interior Minister Bernard Cazeneuve said there has been an elevated risk of further attacks. French prosecutors earlier said they had identified 2 more Paris attackers, including a Syrian and a Frenchman who was previously charged in a, quote, terrorist case. Sami Ali Mour has been named as one of those who took part in the attack on the Bataclan concert hall where 89 people were killed. And Mour is, quote, known to anti-terrorist investigators and was charged with conspiracy to commit terrorism in 2012 over a failed attack in Yemen. He violated judicial supervision in 2013, prompting judges to issue a Interpol Red Alert, or an international arrest warrant, for lack of a better term. His family told AFP in an interview before the attacks took place that he had gone to Syria in 2013. 3 members of his family were taken custody earlier this morning, the statement said. A suicide bomber blew himself up outside the Stade de France stadium is believed to be Syrian Ahmad al-Muhammad from Idlib. A statement from the prosecutor's office said the Syrian passport found in that name near the body, quote, remains to be verified, but that fingerprints matched those taken in Greece in October. The French Prime Minister earlier said that police raided homes of suspected Islamists across the country overnight in the aftermath of the Paris shootings. Police have additional powers under a state of emergency declared after the coordinated attacks. The Prime Minister also said that French intelligence services had prevented several attacks since the summer. Police know other attacks are being prepared in France as well as in the rest of Europe. Quote, we are making use of the legal framework of the state of emergency to question people who are part of the radical jihadist movement and to all those who advocate hate of their public, Mr. Valls said on RTL radio. Police sources in Paris said, quote, several dozen pre-dawn raids were carried out in French cities, including in Bobigny, the eastern suburb of the capital. 13 raids were carried out across southeastern French, around the southeastern French city of Lyon, local officials said. They led to 5 arrests and the seizure of, quote, an arsenal of weapons, including a rocket launcher, a Kalashnikov assault rifle, bulletproof vests, handguns, and combat gear, the source said. Police also carried out raids in Toulouse in southwestern France, where at least 3 people were arrested, according to the local prosecutor's office. In the Alpine city of Grenoble, according to a local newspaper, at least half a dozen people were arrested and guns and money were seized. French warplanes pounded IS positions in Syria yesterday as police in Europe widened their investigation into Friday night's attacks. Suicide bombers and shootings have ignited a row over Europe's refugee crisis and drawn calls to block a huge influx of Muslim asylum seekers. Meanwhile, a major raid is underway in Brussels aimed at arresting Saha Abdeslam, who has been named by French police as a key suspect in the Paris attacks. Prosecutors told AFP this afternoon. This, of course, being over in Paris, which, last I checked, is in the afternoon. French authorities missed an opportunity to detain him just hours after carnage in Paris when he was questioned and released after a car he was in was pulled over near the Belgian border. Officers have warned the public not to approach the 28-year-old Frenchman born in Brussels and described him as, quote, dangerous. No shit. Abdeslam rented a black Volkswagen Polo used by the group which attacked the Bataclan concert hall, an official said. France has been bombing IS positions in Iraq and Syria for months as part of a U.S.-led operation. Following Friday's mayhem, the French government vowed to destroy the group. Apparent French airstrikes overnight hit a weapons depot and a training camp in the de facto steering capital of the IS group in Raqqa, a monitor said today. Quote, there are at least 36 explosions overnight in Raqqa city, some caused by airstrikes and some by weapons and explosives detonating after being hit, said Rami Abdel Rahman, director of the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights. The blast shook the entire city. There were strikes in both the north and south of Raqqa, he told AFP. He also said the strikes were believed to have been carried out by French aircraft. Raqqa City is the de facto Syrian capital of the so-called caliphate that the so-called Islamic State runs, and controlling territory in Syria and neighboring Iraq. It imposes harsh interpretation of Islam on the territory, and Raqqa is often the scene of gruesome execution-style killings carried out by the group. Something that, personally, I hope French return in kind, with guillotines. Because France. A little bit later on this report, Belgian police have concluded a major raid in Brussels aimed at catching key suspect in Paris attacks without making any arrests. A spokesman for the prosecutor's office said this afternoon, quote, "The operation is over and the result is negative. No one was arrested," spokesman Eric van der Spiet told AFP. The mayor of the Molenbeek district, where the raid took place, also confirmed it was over. The raid was aimed at arresting a 26-year-old Saleh Abdelassam, who's been named by French police as a key suspect in terrorist attacks, prosecutors said earlier. The spokesman added that he was unable to confirm whether the suspect was actually in a house surrounded by police in the Molenbeek district of the Belgian capital. One of his brothers, Brahim Abdelassam, has been identified among the suicide bombers involved in the Paris attacks, in which 129 people were killed in simultaneous assaults on a concert hall and in other sites. Another brother, Mohammed Abdelassam, was released, quote, without being charged by Belgian authorities this afternoon, along with 4 other suspects who were arrested in the wake of the carnage in the French capital, prosecutor spokesman said. Salah Abdelassam is the suspect in an international arrest warrant by French police, who have described him as, quote, dangerous. Belgian media described him as, quote, public enemy number 1. Except, unlike John Yeldrick, this guy's a total cunt. The prosecutor's office said early denied reports that Salah Abdelassam had been arrested in Brussels. RTL Radio reported that he'd been detained. Belgian public broadcaster RTBF then reported that person had been arrested, but it was not Salah Abdelassam. A minute's silence has been held across Europe in memory of the victims of the Paris attacks. A total of 129 people died in the attacks in bars and restaurants, concert hall, and the Stade de France. French President François Hollande was at the Sorbonne University in Paris surrounded by his cabinet to mark the occasion. Hundreds of people gathered at the Central Place de la République, near the site of many of the attacks that killed 129 people on Friday. Flags were lowered in state buildings across Ireland as a mark of respect for the victims. This article being sourced from RTE News. Irish President Michael Higgins and his wife Sabina signed a book of condolences at the French embassy on Merrion Square in Dublin while attending minutes of silence. And many other things have happened there as well. If I recall, let me just look through here. Yes. Yes. Public museums and other cultural venues in the Paris area will reopen this afternoon, 3 days after the terror attacks, the Cultural Ministry said. Museums will open at 1 p.m. local time, the ministry said in a statement. Cinemas were ordered to close following the attacks, but most of them reopened on Sunday after a 24-hour closure. Schools, sports venues, and parks will also reopen today, along with street markets, which will be under, quote, special scrutiny, Paris Town Hall said in a statement. Islamic State has warned in a new video that countries taking part in airstrikes against Syria would suffer the same fate as France. So, other words, they just be really pissed off and possibly use thermonuclear weapons against you? Good idea, ISIS. Good idea, really. The video contained a specific threat to attack Washington. Yeah, I'm not going to repeat what he's saying because basically it's a little BS, so... it was not immediately possible to verify the authenticity of this video. Meanwhile, British security services have foiled around 7 terror attacks since June, with fighters returning from Syria posing a growing threat, according to British Prime Minister David Cameron. Quote, our security intelligence services have stopped something like 7 attacks in the last 6 months, albeit attacks planned on a smaller scale than Friday's attacks on Paris, he told Radio 4 from Turkey, BBC Radio 4 specifically. We've been aware of these cells operating in Syria that are radicalizing people in our own countries, potentially sending people back to carry out attacks, he added. Further, quote, is the sort of thing we were warned about. Bring back the news. That's the solution. For Britain, the guillotine for France, and, well, we don't need to bring it back here. We already have it. Mr. Cameron said there are, quote, hopeful signs from Saturday's talks in Vienna on Syria that progress is being made on how to deal with these psychopaths. Quote, you can't deal with the so-called Islamic State until you get a political settlement in Syria that enables you to permanently degrade and destroy that organization, he said. As same could be also said for sending millions and millions of troops into the place and just occupying it. Yeah. We will return after a short commercial break. This is Lake Effect Radio.
You're listening to Lakeland's Lake Effect Radio, the official home of Lakeland Sports. If you want to watch and listen, you can tune it to www.livestream.com/Lakeland's Lake Effect Radio.
My opportunity in respiratory therapy began at Lakeland, and now I'm your respiratory therapist.
My dream career began in the Adult Accelerated Program at Lakeland. Now, I'm a financial analyst.
My career in special education started at Lakeland, and today I counsel adults with special needs in our community.
The University Center of Lakeland Community College creates new opportunities for you to earn advanced degrees.
Lakeland Community College.
Opportunity starts here.
Visit lakelandcc.edu.
Ride Lake Tran free with your student ID. For more information, visit www.laketran.com or call 1-888-LAKETRAN.
Book discussion group, Wednesday, December 9th at noon in the library workroom C2058. Read the book and join library staff in the discussion of Behind the Beautiful Forevers by Catherine Boo. Free, open to everyone. Please call 440-525-7424 for more information.
Watch us live at www.livestream.com/lakeeffect.
Hey Lakeland students, pick up the latest issue of the Lakelander student newspaper to stay up to date with what's happening around campus. The Lakelander will keep you informed and entertained with all the latest campus news, music, reviews, political commentary, and everything in between.
I only feel angry when I see waste, when I see people throwing away things that we could use.
You're listening to Lakeland's Lake Effect Radio, the official home of Lakeland Sports. If you want to watch and listen, you can tune it to www.livestream.com/Lakeland's Lake Effect Radio.
Are you a single mom? If you are, there's a program called SMART, or Single Mothers Achieving Real Triumph. SMART is a support, networking, and scholarship program which helps single mothers achieve academic success. The requirements: you must participate and be a new student either in your first or second semester in college, have demonstrated financial need, or attend colleges on Tuesdays and Thursdays, at least 6 credits, and you must be available to attend workshops. Students must be enrolled in English 0111 or English 1111 to participate. This is an on-campus daytime program, and some of the program benefits are you can gain access to resources which are available to students that you might not otherwise know about, acquire skills to help you interact effectively with instructors and college personnel, and meet weekly for support and networking. If you're interested in this program, give a call to the Women's Center at Lakeland Community College at 440-525-7322 or email vwilliams@lakelandcc.edu.
This is Lake Effect Radio. Now for another video from France 24 relating to the victims of last Friday's attacks.
Many families who for hours hoped their loved ones were still alive.
Apologies, I just need to start that.
Many families who for hours hoped their loved ones were still alive now have to come to terms with their death. On social media, friends post photographs of the victims' faces. Quentin, Elodie, Maxime, Thomas were killed simply because they attended a concert. Marie loved music. She also died at the Bataclan Hall. Mathieu Hoche was a cameraman who worked for this TV channel for years. Mathias and Marie had been together for 5 years. They had met during high school in Metz in eastern France. He was an engineer. She was a student. They died together. Pierre owned a popular restaurant in the Paris region. Aged 40, he had a passion for skydiving. This was his last post before going to the concert. Many victims were foreigners who loved Paris. Juan Alberto from Spain was 29. Valeria was a 28-year-old Italian. She had just got a job as a researcher at the prestigious Sorbonne University.
My daughter will always be in our hearts. She was active, cultured. She had 1,000 qualities. She was a marvelous person. We will miss her so much. Our country will miss her.
Others were killed while they were sitting outside cafes. Halima and Hoda Saadi were celebrating a friend's birthday when they were gunned down.
One of my sisters leaves 2 children behind her. It's a part of her. We'll take care of them. And my other sister, I'll never forget her.
The attacks on Friday were the worst in France since the Second World War.
That was a video from France 24 dealing with some of the victims of the attacks. As mentioned before, one of their own was killed in the attacks, a cameraman. Among at least 129 people who died in Friday night's terrorist attacks in Paris was one of France 24's own, who had been a camera technician for the channel since it was established in 2006. The website link I will put onto the stream chat thing if you want to take a look at that and look at it for yourself if you are on live stream. No, I'm not White Lightning, but nonetheless. And finally today, and I know there's some other things going on in the world, but this just angers me so much that I had to dedicate this whole show to this. A total of 23 people have been arrested and dozens of weapons seized in a series of raids on suspected Islamist militants across France, officials say. The crackdown followed multiple attacks in bars, restaurants, concert hall, and the stadium in Paris on Friday, in which 129 people were killed. Police operation also took place in Brussels, Belgium. Shots and explosions were held in the Molenbeek district. Meanwhile, the brothers of 2 suspects arrested in Belgium have been freed. Mohammed Abdelassam's lawyer said on Monday that he'd been released without charge, proving his innocence, according to his lawyer at least. His brothers Brahim Abdelassam killed during the attacks, and Salah, who was on the run. He was one of 5 out of 7 people arrested in Belgium at the weekend who had been released. France held a minute of silence nationwide at midday local time, 11 o'clock GMT, for the victims. French Prime Minister Manuel Valls said the attacks had been organized from Syria. He added that authorities now believe new terror attacks were being planned in France and other European countries. 2 more Paris attacks were named, along with 5 already identified. One is confirmed to have entered Greece as a migrant earlier this year. Investigators are also reporting to be focused on a Belgian and Moroccan descent, who is described as a possible mastermind of the case. We'll have the weather forecast up next. And now the weather forecast for Kirtland, Ohio through Wednesday. Today, sunny, high 65, southwest around 6 miles per hour, becoming calm afternoon. Tonight, partly cloudy, low 47, southeast 3 to 6 miles per hour. Tuesday, partly sunny, high 64, southeast 9 to 14 miles per hour. Tuesday night, slight change of showers between 10 and 4, mostly cloudy, low 53, breezy, with southeast 16 to 21 miles per hour. Precipitation chance 20%. Wednesday, showers likely afternoon, mostly cloudy, high 66, breezy, southeast 21 to 24 miles per hour. Precipitation chance 60%, new precipitation amounts less than 1/10 of an inch. And Wednesday night, showers, low 40, breezy, precipitation chance 90%, new precipitation amounts between 1/2 and 3/4 of an inch. And that will conclude the normal portion of this program today with the news at 10. What happened on Friday, I just don't know. I just don't know how to properly verbalize my anger with it. How can you? How can you, do that? You know what? You know that scene in Casablanca where they sing La Marseillaise, against, because a bunch of psychopaths are also in the bar with them. German psychopaths, yes, but, psychopaths nonetheless. Let's end on that for today.
Plate.